I'm an actor. It was kind of an accident. It was 1980. My life was in the toilet. I was filled with darkness and despair and hopelessness, like a star collapsing inward on itself, about to become a black hole. Then I remembered that when I was in school, life had made at least some kind of sense. A coworker suggested this acting class. I really think you'll like it, they said. I sat in. People were taking all their insides and bringing them outside, and were being celebrated for it. Just blew my mind. Up until that moment, I'd felt like a freak. All the stuff I had inside, at least now I knew where the other freaks hung out. It was actually here in the Victory Theater, on this stage. The first time I fell apart sobbing and streaming snot and tears. Edmund's monologue from Long Day's Journey into Night, talking to his father, was right here. Feeling like I was exactly in the right place, embarrassingly vulnerable and messy. In the right place for the first time in forever. And thank you, Maria Gobetti, for all that. And that's a big part of the job, being yourself from the inside out, and from there living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, as Sandy Meisner defined it. Not truthfully like another day at the office, but more like, if you don't win the love of this person across from you, you literally will die. And not your character, but you. Now, my next acting teacher, Ed K. Martin, used to say there are three kinds of directors. Those who will stay out of your way, those who will get in your way, and those rare few who will actually help you along the way to doing your work, finding your best performance. As an actor, he'd say you have to know how to work and do your work no matter who you're working with. The Shining, interestingly, is an example of all three. First, Nicholson. By 1979, he'd won his first Academy Award for Cuckoo's Nest. He'd had Golden Globes, Best Actor at Cannes. He's 41 years old and in the prime of his career, top of his game. There's a truth about acting that if the actor doesn't know what's going to happen next, if he lets himself be surprised by the moment, then the audience will be surprised too, and often delighted. And that's where Nicholson likes to be. In the documentary about the making of The Shining, he says, I want to be out of control as an actor. I want the director to have the control. Otherwise, it's going to become predictably my work, and that's not fun. Kubrick and Nicholson worked together as collaborators. The actor Philip Stone, who played the ghost of the former caretaker, said, my scene with Jack Nicholson, where he tells Jack's character that his wife and son need a good talking to, lasted about 8 minutes. We shot it 50 or 60 times, I should think, always in one take. Then Jack Nicholson, Stanley, and I would sit down and look at each take on a video. Jack would say, that was pretty good, wasn't it, Stanley? And Stanley would say, yes, it was. Now let's do it again. By all accounts, Nicholson gave everything he had and let Kubrick sort it out in editing. The height of egolessness and trust. So, was Jack over the top, putting the axe through the bathroom door and then his head through the hole and saying, here's Johnny? Absolutely. But was that take 3 or 25 or 48? After every other idea had been exhausted until he finally said, I don't know, how about this? It really is a powerful performance. Now, Danny Lloyd, the boy, had never acted before. He was 4 years old. His parents sent in his picture for some movie they'd heard about, then flew to Chicago from Denver to meet the casting person, who was another actor, Leon Vitali, who gave up his acting career to work for Stanley. There's a documentary about him, Filmmaker, on Amazon. It's fascinating. Leon videotapes something over 4,000 children. Then he meets this kid who was able to have a conversation. Leon knew he could work with that. Years later, Danny said from that moment on, they were like best friends. And Leon was just off camera every moment. Okay, color. Now stop. Okay, give me the scared look, Danny. Danny, you got to listen to Stanley. Encouraging, befriending, loving him into unself-consciousness and play. Every great performance requires that sense of play and the willingness to step past fear into unself-consciousness to become an open channel for something else to come through. Shelley Duvall came from the Robert Altman School of Film Acting, which was working with Robert Altman. She was discovered in Texas, working at a bar. He invited her to come on to Brewster McCloud, and then she did 7 films with him, including McCabe and Mrs. Miller, one of my top 5 greatest films of all time, and 3 Women, which is a breathtakingly quirky performance that earned her Best Actress at the 1977 Cannes Film Festival. Now, Stephen King referred to her character Wendy as one of the most misogynistic characters ever put on film, which isn't wrong, but maybe is more the character King wrote than he was willing to admit. Wife of an alcoholic, doing what she had to do, making excuses for her husband's bad behavior. And there's an early scene with her son in their small apartment in Boulder. She's smoking a cigarette at the kitchen table and reading a battered copy of The Catcher in the Rye. The boy is eating a sandwich. Mother and son, it's loving and kind of comforting if you ignore what's coming. And maybe the cigarette if you're younger than me and don't remember the ubiquity of smoking at the time. But we get to see her calm and relaxed, a mom who loves her son. Then telling a doctor about how Danny's shoulder was dislocated accidentally by her drunken husband. The scene plays out on a close-up of Shelley Duvall putting the best face on things. It could have happened to anyone. It's so simple and so sad. Acting-wise, it's just gorgeous. Now, those scenes set a baseline for the character so that everything to come matters. Without knowing what's being lost, the steady stripping away of her defenses against the monster of alcoholism and of her husband and of the evil in the Overlook Hotel wouldn't register for us. This is an actor aware of craft and story and doing her job. Actors who worked with Altman were encouraged to improvise. He was the first director to record dialogue on multiple tracks, so it didn't matter if the actors talked over each other, like in life. They were encouraged to play and discover. With Kubrick, it was 9 months of crying 12 hours a day, stress, her hair started falling out, shaming, "You're wasting everyone's time, Shelley." He told the crew not to show her sympathy, it wasn't good for her. Praised Nicholson constantly, never once complimenting her in her work. And then the baseball bat scene. Backing up the stairs, swinging the bat at Jack, 127 takes. In an interview with the BBC, the interviewer says, "You did 127 takes?" I was told to say 18. The scene is mesmerizing. Even through all the hysteria, she's still trying to explain away her husband's insanity. "I'm very confused and I just need a chance to think things over." It's a performance to be proud of, and it cost her. No one gets into acting from a surfeit of mental health. On some level, there's a need to be seen or recognized and maybe to be approved of, but you quickly realize if you're looking for approval, you can't act. It doesn't work that way. And if somehow you decide to stay, it has to become about something else, and not fame or money or glory, but about learning how to challenge yourself again and again to trust the unknown more than your ideas. What it takes to push yourself over whatever edge seems to be holding you back. Now, Jack seems to have found and crossed edge after edge in his career because he enjoys the challenge or because it's fun. or because he found that having even a moment of transcendence in front of the camera makes everything else worthwhile. Danny Lloyd got into it before he had an edge and left maybe at the first sign of one. He retired from acting at the age of 10. Shelley Duvall, God bless her, she went from stardom to still untreated mental illness, maybe bipolar, maybe schizophrenic. Maybe her edges just weren't high enough to keep her from going over that one step too far. For me, after some 40 years, it's become a spiritual endeavor. Am I willing to serve something other than the ego? Can I let go of small self-fears and allow the waves of something bigger to crash through me? Am I willing to be seen, exposed as the deeply flawed human I might be? Can I take everything deeply, passionately, personally, and make it not at all about me? And then again this time? And then again this time? As if you've never done it before? There's gold to be found in the human experience, in the alchemy of just these ingredients, in just this place, at just this time. The fortunate among us find it a few times in a life: births, deaths, marriage, achievements, moments of grace. Once, twice, half a dozen. For an actor who's willing to let go of the edge of the pool, throw themselves out of the airplane, walk across the dance floor to ask for the next dance, who is willing to let go of the imagined control we all think we have, but actually don't. It's possible on take one, and take two, and take 127.